Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about associative property, what it is, formulas, and then we're going to do a few examples together. I'm going to be here to guide you step by step, and you guys can pause the video and solve, or you can simply follow along. However you want to do it, that's a-okay, and as long as you're learning, that's the main goal of today. So let's get right into our lesson. So, starting off, we do want to know what associative property is, and it is the order of the parentheses does not change the result of the equation or answer. So, what this is saying is no matter how you arrange the parentheses, you should still get the same answer. And it's essentially telling you that you can rearrange the equation, you'll get the same thing. It's similar to commutative property, just with parentheses. And being more in similarity with the commutative property, it only applies to multiplication and addition only. So here are some formulas. Starting off with the addition, I have a plus b in the parentheses plus c. Now what if I move those parentheses? So instead I have a on the outside and b plus c in the parentheses. You should still get the same answer no matter how the parentheses are moved. Going on to my multiplication, it's still the same thing, just with a multiplication sign. So I have a times b inside the parentheses times c. Now, if I set that equal, I have a times, and then the inside of the parentheses, I have b times c. I still get the same result, even though the parentheses are rearranged. That's essentially what associative property is. Now we're going to do two addition examples together and two multiplication examples. So starting off with my very first example, I have 5 plus 4 inside the parentheses plus 9. And when I solve this, 5 plus 4, I get 9. And now I'm going to add 9 from the outside. I get 18. Now, what happens if I move the parentheses to match 4 and 9 instead? So they're in there. So I'm going to write that down. I have 5 plus on the outside, and then in the inside of the parentheses, I have 4 plus 9. So 9 plus 4, that's 13, plus 5, I get 18 still. So this essentially shows you that no matter how I move the parentheses, I still get the same result. The parentheses shouldn't affect the result you are trying to get, essentially. It should be equal to each other. Going on to our second example, I have 70 plus 12 plus 10. So looking at the inside of the parentheses, I'm going to solve that first. So I get 82. Now I'm going to do 82 plus 10 since the 10 is the outside. Can't forget about that. And I get 92. So now that I have 92, I'm just going to move the parentheses. So I'm going to have 70 plus on the outside and then 12 plus 10 on the inside. And essentially when I do 12 plus 10, because it's inside of the parentheses, I get 22. Now I'm going to add 70 to that 22 and I get 92. So I still get that same answer. No matter how I arrange the parentheses, I still get the same thing. Now we're going to be moving on to our multiplication. So I have 12 times 3 inside the parentheses and 5 on the outside. Now, because I do have that, and I don't want students to get confused here, since I do have that multiplication sign on the outside of parentheses, I am multiplying. I am not distributing it. That is distributive property, and this is associative property. So make sure you don't make that mistake. So as long as you know that associative is essentially moving parentheses and distributive means you're giving um, that number on the outside to the numbers inside the parentheses, as long as you can differentiate between those two, you should be fine. I do want to clear that up so students don't get confused or have a common misconception about these properties because they can be very similar to each other. Now going back, 12 times 3, I'm going to solve for that and I get 36. Now I'm going to times this by 5 because I can't forget about the 5, of course, and I actually get 180. So now I'm going to move the parentheses to be inside of 3 and 5. So I have 12 on the outside, but first you got to solve what's inside the parentheses. So I do 3 times 5 and I get 15. Now I'm going to do 15 times 12 and I get 180. So once again, it shows how I can move the parentheses and I still get the same answer. It does not affect my result. Going on to my last example, I have 7 times 4 inside the parentheses times 3. Solving inside the parentheses first, I do 7 times 4, I get 28. And I'm going to do 28 times 3, and I get 84. So now that I have 84, I'm going to rewrite this equation so 4 and 3 is inside the parentheses. So once again, solving inside the parentheses first, I do 4 times 3, I get 12. And 12 times 7, I still get 84. So the key takeaway from this video is that associative property only applies to addition and multiplication, and it stands for rearranging the parentheses, but I still get the same result every time. That's essentially what associative property is. It's very similar to commutative property, but they're still different because associative deals with parentheses and commutative just deals with how you switch the numbers you are given with, but they're very similar. So that's all for today's lesson. This is Ari, the math tutor, signing out, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye!